From the land of the free and the home of the free, the home of the brave. This is Saturday. It's time for a Swede Speaks Live. This is live from New York City. I am a Swede Speaks, and we are live. Thank you all for being here. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with me, so thank you very much, and God bless everyone in the chat. There has been a lot going on, and we will dig into that soon. But first, I want to make my opening statement, what I'm about and what I'm not about, what I'm for and what I'm against. I believe in Western civilization. I don't care what you look like. I don't care about race, skin color, or ethnicity. I care about values, ideology, and culture. Because your thoughts control your actions to a very large extent. Good ideas give good results. Bad ideas give bad results. It is as simple as that. Western civilization, with all its faults and flaws, is the best civilization ever created by mankind. So what is the reason for the success and the ongoing decline of Western civilization? Today, I would like to quote from an article from 2014 because the article's statements are still valid. In 2014, the Norwegian alternative media site document.no published an article called Kristendom og arbeidsmoral, which means Christianity and work ethic. The article talks about how the German sociologist and historian Max Weber studied the success of America back in 1904 and the conclusions he made. His conclusion was that Protestant Christianity led to a higher work ethic, which in turn led to prosperity. We will talk a little about recent American prosperity later in today's stream. And when it came to the United States, already back in 1904, Weber saw a connection between a vibrant Protestant Christianity and material prosperity. His conclusions were reaffirmed a few years ago by the Chinese Academy of the Social Sciences, when they were given the task of finding the key to Western prosperity. This is what the Chinese Academy found out. Quote, "We were asked to look into what accounted for the preeminence of the West all over the world. At first, we thought it was because you had more powerful guns than we had. Then we thought it was because you had the best political system. Next, we focused on your economic system. But in the past 20 years, we have realized that the heart of your culture is your religion, Christianity. That is why the West has been so powerful. The Christian moral foundation of social and cultural life was what made possible the emergence of capitalism and then the successful transition to democratic policies. We don't have any doubt about this." Close quote. Well, what can I say? I agree with the Chinese. From an outside perspective, they were able to confirm what I claim from an inside Western perspective, because this is what I'm for. Judeo-Christian Western civilization, based upon the heritage from Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome, refined and strengthened through the Anglo-American tradition of liberty, through things like the Magna Carta, the ideas of liberty formulated by John Locke and Edmund Burke, and through the American Revolution. And let's not forget how Christian thinking ended serfdom and slavery, because through Christ we are all brothers and sisters. Here is neither Jew nor Greek, as the Bible says. Christianity ended serfdom in Scandinavia, in Sweden in the 13th century, and it ended slavery in the British Empire and in the United States in the 19th century. The West would not be Western without Christ. This is important, because if you cut off the roots of the tree, it will die. And that's the reason for the decline of Western civilization that we are seeing now in large parts of the West. We were fooled into abandoning Christianity, abandoning Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Anglo-American ideas on liberty. And what happened? A philosophical vacuum was created that had to be filled with something. For a while, the vacuum was filled with Marxism. Today, it is increasingly filled with neo-Marxist ideas, political correctness, and Islam. Which one of these do you think will win in the long run? Political correctness doesn't stand a chance against Islam, let me tell you that. Only Christianity can stand against Islam, and only Christianity is a solid base for Western civilization. So this is what I'm for. So what am I against? I've already touched on it. I'm against Marxism, political correctness, and Islam. These ideas doesn't build anything, they just destroy. If you want to know how good an idea really is, you don't read college textbooks, at least you don't read them as gospel truth. You study migration waves. Were people moving from the West to the communist East, or were they moving in the other direction? Did they move from the United States to Russia, or from Russia to the United States? From Sweden to Poland, or from Poland to Sweden? From West Germany to East Germany, or from East Germany to West Germany. That's what you need to know to find out how good an idea works in practice. And today, are people moving from the West to the Islamic world, or are they moving in the other direction? I assume that you all know the answers to these questions, so all you have to do is to draw the right conclusions. To win, we don't need a majority. Societal change is not brought forth by majorities. What we need is the stubborn 10%, because most people are indifferent, at least publicly. A minority are activists in any sense of the word. This is both good and bad news, because it doesn't matter what kind of change you want or don't want, as long as you have the 10 stubborn percent who won't back down, who will stand up against heavy opposition, even when it costs you. Those are the people who win. I am pretty sure most Canadians are not in favor of gender neutral pronouns. But if you don't use people's preferred pronoun in Canada, you're in trouble. Just ask Jordan Peterson. Most people in Sweden are not in favor of public baths having separate times for women and men, and still that is a trend in Sweden. Most people in Norway are not in favor of 7-year-old children being allowed to change their legal gender, and yet it is allowed, and it was introduced by a so-called right-wing government. Most people in Britain don't want a totalitarian state, but that's what they are getting. And why? Why Canada? Why Sweden? Why Norway? Why Britain? Because the stubborn 10%. I knew this when I was a Marxist, which I was from 2010 until early 2014. I didn't know about the 10% rule, but I knew that the most stubborn one wins. Stand your ground or stick to your demands was the battle cry for Marxists in the Red Party in Norway, where I happen to live. So the left knows this. Muslims sure seem to know this too. Sane conservatives need to learn this, and we need to learn fast. There are some signs of sane conservatives learning. Denmark has become a lot tougher on migration, assimilation, and Islam. Why? Because they have had more outspoken and more stubborn right-wingers, at least people who were conservative when it comes to cultural issues. I see the same thing with countries like Poland, Hungary, and more recently also Austria and Italy. So there is hope, trust me on that. We can achieve great things if we don't back down in fighting for what is right. You might have noticed, I haven't mentioned race, skin color, or ethnicity. There's a reason for that. It's irrelevant. What matters to me is your values, your philosophy, your ideology, and your culture. I need to make this absolutely clear. I am not in favor of any kind of identity politics, including identitarianism. I am opposed to Black Lives Matter, and I am opposed to European white identitarians. These ideas are toxic, they are polarizing, and they are plain wrong. They don't build societies, they break societies. The United States, supposedly an immigrant nation and a very successful country for centuries. It wasn't an immigrant nation, it was a nation of citizens. You could come to America as a Swede, a German, a Chinese person, a Caribbean person, but you were expected to assimilate, and you, or at least your children, would be Americans. It was, and to a large extent still seems to be, a melting pot society. So that's what I'm for, and that's what I'm against. And I'm trying to create critical mass for and against these things. Not by myself, of course, with your help. And it's a part of a larger crowd of people trying to do similar things. I just have to do my part, because otherwise I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't live with myself. So what you have to do the right thing, even when it costs you. So having said my opening statement, I will have a look at the chat. And there are 23 people in here, which is great. I see a lot of well, familiar names. I'll see if I see some new ones too. Yeah, I see a few new ones too. So that's all great. Thank you all for being here this Saturday. I really appreciate that you're taking the time to be here. Please like and share this live stream. Subscribe to this channel if you aren't already. And of course, feel free to support my work. You can do that by sending a super chat of whichever amount you want, and I will read all super chats in the live stream as long as you keep them clean. Be nice, don't incite, no racism, no anti-Semitism, no incitement, please. And for the record, being anti-Islam is not racism, but inciting against Muslims is a bad idea. But as long as you don't do that, we're all good, and all support is greatly appreciated and needed. You can also buy merchandise. or you can support my work by becoming a monthly supporter at Patreon or through PayPal, and there are links for all of that in the box below. Also, check out my website at swedespeaks.com because almost everything I do ends up there, so there are links to both YouTube videos and online articles there. Uh, Again, I'm really happy that you're here. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you and God bless you all. So let's have a look at today's stories in a short moment. Tommy Robinson was recently moved from Hull Prison to Onley, near Birmingham. There are conflicting reports about this prison. First, it was said that the prison has a Muslim population of about 70%. Some say that number is exaggerated. But even if the Muslim prison population is smaller, Tommy Robinson's life is still at stake. I hold the British government responsible for what happens to Tommy Robinson. Reportedly, Tommy Robinson is in solitary confinement in a room with blue mats on the floor. As I've understood it, that's what he got right now. Make no mistake about this. Tommy Robinson is a political prisoner. The British government and establishment needs to be reminded about this every day until Tommy is released. The charges against Tommy Robinson were bogus charges. They just want to silence him. Don't let the British establishment get away with this. As I said in my opening statement, the Anglo-American tradition of liberty, including Magna Carta, common law, and British thinkers like John Locke and Edmund Burke, that's an important part of my philosophy. Sadly, the UK is turning into a totalitarian state. And you know, President Trump is supposed to visit the UK in July. I hope that he will bring up Tommy Robinson in his discussion with Prime Minister Theresa May. I'm pretty sure you heard of him. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted about it recently. I also hope that a lot of Britons will turn up in the streets to welcome President Trump and to support Tommy Robinson. We all need to stand with Britons who fight for liberty and justice. So pray for Tommy Robinson, pray for his safety and his salvation, and make sure he is not forgotten in public debate. Free speech, free Tommy Robinson, liberty and justice for the United Kingdom. And speaking of Trump, here's some good news. The Trump effect is working at home and abroad. Abroad, President Trump got a deal with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, and the left are angry. Apparently, they want war rather than talks. And you know, sometimes I support war, but not when it comes to North Korea. Not now, unless North Korea starts a war. Trump has been playing 3D chess. The left and the mainstream media doesn't get it, and he is getting results. Of course, I think Trump needs to be careful when it comes to Kim, because I don't think you can trust him. But I'm sure Trump knows this better than I do. Trump is a successful businessman who closed thousands of deals. He knows how to negotiate. The left just wants to complain. Whatever Trump does, they are against him no matter what. And at home in America, I saw earlier this morning on TV that there was a 4% GDP growth this quarter. And remember, unemployment in the United States is record low. Black unemployment is record low. Hispanic unemployment is record low. If President Trump is able to get the right things done at home and abroad, he will win a landslide in 2020. I really hope he succeeds and that he wins the next election too. Best president since Reagan, and I have seen the returning prosperity in America with my own eyes. In the Midwest and in New York City, construction everywhere, people working. I've been told that also in New York City, there is more construction going on now under New Yorker Trump as president than before. I guess that's hearsay, but it seems to be correct, so I don't regret that I supported Trump from the day he announced that he was running for president. So let's have a look. So we got 26 people watching here. Let's see. We got, oh, Charles Keatington says, gender, it's sex. Well, yeah, you're right. I agree. But, you know, you can't change your sex unless, well, you can't. Basically, you're XX or XY. But the concept of gender, you seem to be able to change that. I mean, that's all. It's an imaginary thing, but it's still, well, it's still not a good thing. So, thank you all for being here. God bless you. I could not do this without you. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and feel free to support my work through Super Chat. Just click the little $ under your name and send whichever amount you like, or by buying merchandise, by signing up as a monthly donator through Patreon, or by sending a one-time donation through PayPal. There are links for all of that in the box below this live stream. Also, send this live stream to friends and family. So, speaking of New York City, I spent my first full day in the Big Apple yesterday. I had a walk around parts of Manhattan, had brunch in Chinatown, that was great. So watch my New York video from yesterday. It's in the links below too. And after having Chinatown brunch, I walked straight into a protest against proposed new rules by New York City Mayor Democrat Bill de Blasio. The bill is called A10427, and as I understood, the bill wants to do away with standards to get into New York schools and impose racial or ethnic quotas instead. I had the privilege of interviewing a nice lady in the protest, an Asian woman, or I guess, an American woman of Asian ancestry, who just thought this is unfair. And it is. I talked in my opening statement about Christianity and work ethic, and it's related to this. You should be rewarded for your effort, for your hard work, not for your skin color. It doesn't matter if it's supposed to help black people, white people, or any other people. Quotas are racist because they say that we need different rules for different people. Where is the fairness in that? And sure, we can't have perfect fairness, whatever that is, because we are different. I mean, on the individual level now. I would not excel as a carpenter. Trust me on that one. I'm very happy about the people who do, because I need their services. And I think they should be rewarded for their effort in their line of work. I can't compete against them, and I won't. I might be able to do other things instead. That's what a free economy is about. Instead of quotas, you compete, you have trial and error, and you find your place in society that way. So I really hope that Bill de Blasio's Bill's stupid bill, I hope it doesn't pass. I was happy to run into that protest. It felt like God just led me in that direction. I hope that nice lady is watching. She asked for my website. But you know, New York City is crowded. It's got crazy leftist policies. I wouldn't want to live here permanently, but it also got a lot of nice things to watch, nice things to do, nice places to eat. Maybe some places that are not so nice too, of course. But I will return to New York City again because there's a lot to explore. And I think I might have some viewers in the New York area too. So if there's any of you in here from that area, shout out to you. And shout out to the people who return to my live streams again and again, and to all the newcomers. I hope you will become regulars too. So let's have a look at continental Europe now. There's proposed legislation to the European Parliament to introduce a link tax. Sounds like a joke, but it isn't. I thought it was a joke when I heard of it the first time, and then I looked into it. It's not a joke. It's also proposed that algorithms will censor the internet. Right now, there's one vote more in favor than against in the European Parliament, according to Swedish freelance writer Henrik Alexandersson, who has been working for the Pirate Party in the European Parliament previously. Among other things, the EU is trying to kill off the free and open internet, and the vote is up this month. It's horrible. It has to be stopped. So this is something else we need to raise awareness about. As I understand it, if the law passes, you will have to pay if you link to a news source. That's ridiculous. But do you wonder why the mainstream media aren't talking about this? Well, this law clearly will benefit them at the expense of the alternative media. Well, people like me. So I would have to stop linking to my sources, and I would still risk being censored. Well, Norway, where I live, is not in the EU, but it is in the European Economic Agreement, and most EU legislation is also implemented by the Norwegian Parliament anyway. Sorry, so what can I say here? Well, I want free speech. I want no link tax, no censorship. Stop the EU. Really, I think the EU is a monster that should be abolished, but right now, it is this specific piece of legislation that needs to be stopped. So I'll catch my breath for a moment. And see what's going on here. Samuel McLean says diversity quotas are carryover from Obama. It probably is. Although this specific legislation comes from Bill de Blasio, but I think he's got pretty similar ideas from what I hear. And Ratboy says they want to censor all views that are not the same as their extreme left-wing views on everything. Yeah, I guess you could say that the EU, well, they want to, they're in it for control. Charles Keatington says, what about the meme question? The copyright legislation. Right, there's something about the memes too. The EU was going to ban memes more or less because it's copyright infringement according to them, I think. Maybe Charles can inform us more, but there was something about that. That's right. I completely forgot about that. But that's right. Even that. So save the meme. Let's say that and see if Charles can inform us a little more. Um, I'll look at the next thing that I wanted to bring up. Abderrahman Bouanane, the Moroccan citizen who committed the Turku terrorist act last summer, has been sentenced to a lifetime sentence. Islam wasn't mentioned in the court ruling. In Finland, a lifetime sentence usually doesn't mean your entire life. The average length of a life sentence in Finland is 14 years. You may be eligible for release after 12 years, while the longest prison term in Finland ever lasted 22 years, according to Ken Sikorsky at Tundra Tabloids. You should check out Tundra Tabloids, by the way. Obviously, I don't think that is punishment enough. I think terrorism should give you the death penalty. Well, they don't have that in Finland, but they should. I'm sorry about the victims of the Turku terrorist. I am not sorry about him ending up in jail. And last but not least of the news stories that I want to mention today, Sweden Democrat leader Jimmie Åkesson recently spoke at Järvaveckan, the Järva Week, which is a political event in Järva, an area in the north of Stockholm known for its presence of several no-go areas. I listened to the entire speech online yesterday, and although I might not agree with everything, it was a good speech. Especially good was how he stressed the importance of assimilation and that there should be no place for hijabs in Swedish schools, period. He also said that men who have a problem with women walking in public without a headscarf, these men should be blindfolded when going outside. That was a great comment. At the same time, the Christian Democrats in Sweden can't make up their minds about immigration policies. And the election is coming up soon. It's on September 9th. That will be interesting to watch. Hopefully the election will go in the right way. We'll see. So those were the recent news and my comments to them. So let's have a look at the chat. Let's see. Ratboy says we shall form a union of our own between UK, Poland, Hungary, Austria, Italy. Well, in that case, the UK needs to be they need to get rid of their establishment first. Larry Sistan says, "Hiya, Mr. Swede. Hope you're enjoying the USA." Yeah, it's great. It's a little hot actually. I now understand the reference in Spider-Man comics about the New York heat. I didn't before, but I've experienced now. Jacob Jimenez says, the way I see it, some European countries will have to fight to get their freedom back. UK seems to be one that will have to. I think you're right about that. And I think that, how should we put it? I think there's a difference between the British people and the British establishment. As I said, I don't think most British people want a totalitarian state, but that's what they're getting. But you also see now how you have thousands of people in the streets. You have people standing outside 10 Downing Street shouting, Tommy, Tommy, Tommy Robinson. So I hope Britain will turn around in time because, the longer we wait, the worse it will get. And I mean, it could turn into a civil war. I don't want a civil war. I don't want people to get killed, but I don't want a dictatorship, a totalitarian state either. At some time you have to stand up for yourself, but the sooner the better. Akt Peterha, he's from Finland, by the way. He says the official police video from the Turku attack can be viewed online. He targeted women specifically. Yes, he did. That's correct. He probably had some kind of what will you call it, theological reason for that, or I would say ideological reason, because I think Islam is more an ideology than anything else. But in any case, that's what he did. So we have 32 people watching, and that's great. So thank you all for being here, and like, subscribe, share, support, do all of that good stuff. So since you're all here, maybe you could tell me, have you ever been to New York City? What do you do in New York City? What did you think of New York City? Any propositions for what to do while in New York City? What can I do here tomorrow after church, or maybe before church? I might go to a late service. Charles Keatingham says a civil war in Europe is probably inevitable unless the politicians start deporting Muslims. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the real problem. Because if you think about it, uh, when the East Bloc countries, when the Berlin Wall came tumbling down, uh, well, you had a real division between the governments of these countries and the people. Almost no one, uh, almost nobody in Poland or Russia, at least then, or Romania, almost no one supported well, the system in these countries. They didn't support their governments. So once people started to fight back against communism, it was gone. I mean, it couldn't withstand the resistance once it happened because almost everyone was against it. But the problem in Europe now is that you have governments, the establishment, and the Muslim population on one side. Then you have the politically correct people, and then you have the people against. So it's a much more complicated situation now. A. Pinochet says, "Go on a tour of Yankee Stadium and head to the Statue of Liberty." Yeah, I need to watch to go to the Statue of Liberty. Or I think so. I'll try to get there. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that done tomorrow. Oh, A. Pinochet also says, "Cats Delhi is a fantastic place to eat. You've never seen a sandwich like theirs." Where is the Cat's Deli? In which part of the city? Sculptor says the first test will be deporting illegals, maybe in Italy. The method and will be demonstrated first. Yeah, well, Italy is sort of Italy is one of the places where Europe borders the Islamic world because because people are coming from North Africa over the Mediterranean, and now Italy said they had enough. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in Italy. Finally, they have a government going, and people say that Italy got a right-wing government or a right-wing populist government or something like that. Uh, Recently, I was at something called Republicans Abroad Norway at an open meeting they had, and there was a guy from Italy there, and he said that it's not true to call the Italian government right-wing populists. You can call them populists, but not right-wing, because you got one party that's more to the right and one party that's more to the left, but they are both populists. So if I understood him correctly, they can agree on some populist points, or whatever we would like to call it. I mean, I use populist as a neutral term. It means a politician who is trying to do what he thinks is what the people wants. But I know that that's kind of a smear in today's debate, but I don't use it that way. So anyway, according to him, it's not true to say that they're right-wing populists, but you could call them populists. Anyway, what they're doing in Italy now, we'll just see how it works out. But but you see how this started. It started with Poland and Hungary. Then we got Austria and Italy sort of on the same team now. You got Austria, who's deporting imams and closing down mosques, not all mosques, but they are closing down mosques who they say are connected to terrorism and stuff like that. Let's see. Art Schneider says, hello, Sweden all. If there are people there in Sweden who are offended by women without headscarf, they should be deported without question. Well, in general, I agree, especially if they're not Swedish citizens. It's not a problem because, well, if you're not a Swedish citizen and you don't want to assimilate, what are you doing in Sweden? If you have double citizenship, which a lot of people have, I mean dual citizenship, well, then you can just remove the Swedish one and send you back to wherever you came from. Of course, I know there are some countries who refuse to accept their own citizens. I guess you'll just have to send them in parachutes. I mean, it sounds barbaric, but what can you do? If Morocco says we don't want our citizens back, yes, I think they actually do. They say that. Well, then you say, we'll send them back anyway. Or you do what Finland did. Finland did one good thing. Akt Patera can correct me if this is wrong, but according to what I read, Iraq didn't want to accept its own citizens back from Finland. So Finland told Iraq that if you don't, we will just stop giving you foreign aid. And now Iraq is accepting its own citizens being deported from Finland to Iraq. That's what I heard. I haven't checked it recently, so maybe that situation has changed. I don't know. But Akt Patera or any other Finnish viewer could surely correct me. But that's as far as I know. A. Pinochet says, I've been referring to myself as a populist, mainly because it angers the lunatics on the left. Yeah, it really angers them. I don't really call myself a populist. I call myself a conservative in the Anglo-American tradition. However, I will agree with a lot of populist points, of course, because I go by common sense. Charles Keatington says, support the country in which you live or live in the country that you support. Assimilation or repatriation. Well, absolutely. Yeah. And, well, yeah, absolutely. As long as the country that you support will let you in. Well, but yeah, in principle, I agree. Right on says Finland shouldn't be giving aid to Iraq in the first place. Well, that's true. That's true. I don't think foreign aid given to governments is a good thing in general because a lot of governments are corrupt and the money won't do much good except feed, well, a corrupt bureaucracy or members of the political class. But that's a different issue. But yeah, I agree. I don't think Finland or anyone should give aid to Iraq. You could support civil society in Iraq, but to give money to the Iraqi government, and I mean you could do that as an individual, and that's something completely different. Or I mean as an organization. The church can of course help churches in Iraq or churches in Nigeria or wherever. Right on, so exactly, Swede. Yeah, you're getting my point. I assume we would be on the same side. So also to the people who are here, how did you hear of my channel, and for how long have you been watching it, and well, what do you think of it? Which is kind of a hot button issue, because well, anyway, but yeah. La Resistance says, I advocate mass deportation. This has been done before when more than 1 million Germans were expelled from Eastern Europe. Yeah, that's true. It has happened before. And well, when Spain was united, uh, they threw out all the Muslims because they had to. So I mean, it can be done. But you will get a really violent reaction. So yeah. Let's see. Charles Keatington says, how about the foreign aid to Rwanda? Have you heard about the Arsenal scandal? Yeah, I heard that they were giving money to Arsenal for some reason. which is crazy. But well, that's sort of my point. Giving money to governments, well, that tends to feed corruption. William Marshall says, I think your channel was 3 or 4 months old when I started listening to you. So that would have been April or May last year. Hilton 11,000 says, hi Swede, hi. Yeah, well, hello to you too. And A. Pinochet says, your views on Sebastian Kurz shutting down those mosques and expelling the imams. Will he stay on this course? I haven't studied him very closely, but he seems to be, well, he seems to be legit. It seems like he will stay on his course. He's pretty young too, and although in general there's a lot of young people who have crazy ideas, but he might be a part of the young people who are fed up with what they've been told by the baby boomer generation about how all cultures are equal and how Islam and Christianity there's no real difference and all of this crazy stuff. So, well, I think he will probably he will probably stay on his course. But I mean, I don't know. I hope so. Sculptor says I subbed 1st January 2017 after seeing a few videos. Nice and friendly and rational. No drama or abuse, but addressing crucial issues. Uh, oh, thank you. That's great. So you're one of my real old timers then, because this channel, I think the first video from this channel was actually up on January 18th, 2017. I have used January 17th, 2017 as sort of the birth date of this channel, but I realized that on that date I just uploaded a video on Facebook, and then I realized maybe I could do this on YouTube, and it took me a day to figure out how to do that. I had to look into that. So that's great. Thank you for being with me for all this time. And well, what? So you keep coming back because I'm not crazy? Is that it? Samuel McLean says, I recommend video on YouTube about 4 months ago. I like your channel, especially the live streams and hearing news from Sweden. Yeah, great. Good to know. Thank you. I've been a little busy recently, so I haven't been able to upload as much as I want to. But hopefully I'll be back on track soon now, because I've been traveling a lot. And I'll be traveling a little more now. But I might settle down for a while. I mean, not moving around so much for a while, and then I'll be able to produce more and to upload more. Although traveling also gives me opportunity to produce stuff too, because it gives the opportunity to talk to people I wouldn't meet otherwise. Like that nice lady I ran into at the protest yesterday. I didn't even know there was going to be a protest, but so it just showed up in front of my eyes. So I had to ask them what it was about, and I figured out that well, we were on the same side. So then I asked, could I record you and ask a few questions to put them out on YouTube, and she was fine. So that's what we did. Let's see. Sculptor says, or is it sculptor? Anyway, says not crazy, but crazy enough to continue. Yeah, I'm crazy enough to continue because I'm kind of stubborn. And La Resistance says, when is the wedding? Well, I don't know if I want to give out too much information, but I'll tell you when I am married. Let's put it that way. But I'm not by myself in New York City, but I'm in my own hotel room. And I think the Christians in here will get the reference. They will understand what I mean. So let's see. A. Pinochet says, do you think the coalition of Five Star and the League grow stronger together, or do you see a rift emerging? Strong minds and wills. Honestly, I don't really know about Italy. I've recently gotten some news from Italy because of the recent events, so I don't really know. We'll see. Samuel McLean says, "Are you staying in New York the entire trip?" No, I'm staying here for a few more days, and then I'm going to the Midwest. La Resistance says, "We understand, Mr. Swede." Yeah, well, you understand, La Resistance. I'm trying to be personal but not private. There are some details I won't give up because most of the people in here today are nice, but I have no control of who watches these live streams live or who watch them later. If I give out too much information, I might get in trouble, and I don't want that. That's for instance, that's why I won't tell you which hotel I'm staying at. I'll just tell you that I'm in New York City. Let's see. Buffy Summers says, "Welcome to the US. Are you moving to America after you get married?" Well, we'll see. Let's put it that way. Sculptor says, "What happened with the Denmark trip? Are you referring to the video?" Well, I wasn't really happy about it, so I removed it. The video. I was happy about the trip, but not the video. So I went to Denmark, and then I went from Copenhagen to New York through Brussels. A Pinochet says, "Thoughts on identity Europa." Yes, I have a problem with them. I mean, I agree with some of the things they say, of course, and I agree with some of the things they did against Islamization and their anti-Islamic activities. I don't have a problem with that. But I checked up their websites recently because everyone's talking about them, and I want to make sure I haven't misunderstood what they're about. Well, they want to preserve the ethno-cultural heritage of Europe. I'm not interested in that. If they would have said the cultural heritage, I would be fine with it. But when you put in the ethnic part, they want a European ethno-state or something like that. I'm not into that. So no, they're not my people. Rooster Dad 50 says, "Guys like you are definitely welcome in the USA." I'm happy to hear that. And well, thank you. I hope you're right. I mean, I seem to connect better with Americans than with many Europeans, probably because, well, I'm very inspired by American conservatism and American people. I mean, of course, you have a lot of people in America who are, well, I shouldn't say insane, but you got your liberals too. I mean, in every country you have this divide between conservatives and liberals, between everywhere people and somewhere people. You have a divide in the population wherever you go, with people who have different mindsets. But I think I sound like an American conservative when I start reasoning. Well, okay, I am in favor of European monarchy in the old monarchist, but I don't want to turn the US into a kingdom, for instance. That ship has sailed. And I think the ship has sailed for a lot of European monarchies too now because of all they did with it. So, yeah, anyway, I'm sort of getting off track here. But anyway, it seems like a reason more like an American than like a European. But I'll tell you a story. When I was traveling, okay, I'll read this first. Uh, Charles Keaton says, "But, and this needs to be stressed, immigrants must self-identify as Westerners, as Swedes in Sweden and so on. Not even all Christian immigrants do that." Yeah, that's true. I agree completely with that because I want assimilation. For instance, if I would move to the United States, I would work hard on becoming an American citizen, and I would be an American first. If someone asked me, I could tell them my ethnic background is Swedish and Finnish, but I'm an American. That's what I would say. And because I think if you move to a country, if you apply for citizenship, and if you move to Norway or Sweden and you get a Swedish or Norwegian passport, but you still won't call yourself Swedish or Norwegian, or you will be upset about your children being too assimilated, well, then there's something wrong. Then you're in the wrong place. So I agree with you on that. Sapotec 1974 says, "Hey, enjoy your USA trip. Did you see the Oslo police's Ramadan wishes today? Check article about it in Reset. Oh, thank you. I haven't seen it yet because I've been busy preparing this live stream, and I had to have a small meal before I did this. So it takes some time, to produce all of this stuff. So I haven't checked Reset today, but I will check it out later. So thank you. And maybe you saw I had something there pretty recently. If you check out my website, there's a link to it there. Let's see. A Pinochet says you're the Nordic version of Alexis de Tocqueville. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm all about assimilation. That's I guess that's the conclusion. And that's why I talk about melting pot societies. Multiculturalism is a failure because multiculturalism basically means you're going to have separate groups, separate ethnic groups in society who won't mingle, who will all have their separate square of society. That's a recipe for disaster. I mean, that's basically tribalism. It didn't work in the Balkans. It hasn't worked in different African countries or in the Middle East, and it won't work in Europe or in America. I mean, even in Canada, you have this ongoing conflict between the French speakers and the rest. Of course, it's not a violent conflict, but you still have that conflict. So really, I think you need a pretty high level of assimilation. In general, I don't want to talk about exterminating unless we're actually in war. Uh, but free Tommy, I'm all on board with that. And when I talk about Tommy Robinson, have you heard this song "How They Rule You"? You should listen to it. Uh, you can just search for "How They Rule You" and Owen Benjamin, and you'll find it. He sings. He made sort of a cover on Leonard Cohen's "Hallelujah," and instead he's singing about Tommy Robinson. And in this song, he mentions how they claim that this is about racism or something like that, but all that they want to avoid is getting a caliphate. And as far as I know, that's what Tommy Robinson is about. He might have some friends I don't like, that's possible. That's his choice, not mine. But I have not heard him say a single racist thing ever publicly in everything I found of him online. And he's been online for a long, 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 long time. I know he founded the English Defense League, and some people say that was a racist organization. It wasn't when Tommy Robinson founded it. There were some Nazis trying to take over. He kicked them out. Some other Nazis came in. They took over, so he left. Tommy Robinson is not a racist, but he is a realist. He doesn't want Britain to turn into a caliphate, but he hasn't said anything racist. And by the way, he's got a bunch of black friends who he thinks be should be should be allowed to stay in England just as much as him, as long as they think they're British. That should be fine. That's how I understand his viewpoint, and that's my viewpoint. Let's see. Sculptor here says people in the UK I have known many years say Tom is far right or racist. When I challenge them, they go quiet, but persist with their opinion. Frustrating. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. We see if you look at Sweden and Norway, you'll see the same thing. People who don't really know will claim a lot of crazy stuff, and then you ask them, okay, what have they said? Like how people bring up the Sweden Democrats. I'll just say, okay, could you point to their program, to their party program, or to their policies on their website? Could you point to a single racist thing there? And then they'll bring up some members they had 30 years ago who might have been connected to some Nazi group in the past. Well, okay, that's possible. I don't know. That's possible. Maybe that happened. But what are they saying now? What are their policies today? And if you're going to bring up the past, well, then you can bring up the past of other parties in Sweden too. The Swedish parliament decided on having, what was it called? The Eugenics Institute in Uppsala, or well, race biology. What's that called? Yeah, Eugenics Institute in Uppsala, which sort of still exists, but it's changed its name and they moved it to the south of Stockholm. But anyway, there were no Sweden Democrats back around then. You had the Social Democrats, and you had the other parties in parliament. I think they were all for it actually. I think there were some individual parliamentarians who voted against it. The Sweden Democrats were not around. They didn't do this. The other ones did. So if you're going to bring up the past, well, let's bring up the past. That's what I'm saying. Samuel McLean says Canada's bilingual system is a joke. During the parliamentary debates, they all of a sudden start going on in French, and then the translator makes an incoherent mess of it. I can imagine that. I'm a little conflicted when it comes to bilingual countries, because in one way, as a conservative, I could say you have a tradition. On the other hand, I know that having these different groups who won't, how do you put it? Who will separate because they have different languages and all of this stuff. It's a source of conflict. And all societies will have some level of conflict. Actually, a society needs some level of conflict, but that conflict should be over philosophy, over ideology, over ideas, not over identity, because as I said, it's toxic. It doesn't matter if it was South Africa during apartheid, if it's South Africa today when they turn the tables around, if it's separate but equal in the American South, or if it's something else. It doesn't matter. The fight shouldn't be over your ethnic identity. The fight should be over your ideas. Maybe I guess I am an idealist because I think that's why we need assimilation. Let's see. Charles Kittington says, Mr. Robinson is a working class man with personal experiences from multicultural areas. An ordinary man with a major public support, and that scares the hell out of the politicians. Exactly. I agree 100%. Exactly. That's the way it is. Which means he may not, I mean, at least if you look at his old stuff, he may not always be very eloquent, but he never said anything bad, as far as I can tell. And so, I mean, just full support for Tommy Robinson. And if there's anyone in Britain in here right now, please participate in every protest you can. Know that if we're not there physically, you have our moral support, and we will highlight what you're doing. I mean, actually, I've decided, I was in Britain a few months ago in April. I was there with Charles Kittington, and I met with one of my British viewers, and that was great. It was nice to see London. I saw some of the good places that are still there, and I realized that in London, even in London, you still have, there are still places that needs to be preserved. The British have skin in the game. I saw that there are things that you shouldn't just give up to political correctness or to Islam or whatever. You need to fight to keep this and to, well, keep Britain British, to keep it Western. But with all the craziness going on in Britain, with all the people being detained, I don't want to go to Britain on a Norwegian passport. I don't think I want to go to Britain until it turns into a free country. I'm sorry about that because I'd like to visit it again, but it just seems too dangerous, too risky. I don't want to end up being detained in some cell in Britain. Art Schneider says, everyone be sure to like and share. Thank you very much. You should listen to Art Schneider. That's great. A. Pinochet says, gotta run, sir. I have a wonderful time in New York and God bless. Well, thank you too. And have a wonderful Saturday and God bless. Let's see. Hilton 11,000 says, a Syrian king was in a few vids recently. Well, I think it was him. Yeah, I interviewed him in London, and that was great too. It was good to talk to. So I hope I'll be able to meet him again someplace. Charles Keaton says, as I told you a couple of days ago, I think, my Twitter account has been suspended over my criticism of Islam. Yeah, that's great. And Actually, I know a few people now around Sweden and Norway who are being constantly kicked out from Facebook, from Twitter, from places like that. And there are some people, I should actually interview them about that specific topic, about being shut out from public debate for wrong think. Jacob Jimenez says Europe has been losing many tourists. The lies the politicians tell can't stop this. I know some people who will rather visit countries like Poland and Hungary than go to France and Germany, and I agree with them. William Marshall says, "What vibe did you pick up from UK on your visit, Swede?" Well, I was in Chelsea, and Chelsea is a very wealthy area. So in Chelsea, I saw maybe one or two hijabs on the entire trip. I didn't see many. So I thought Chelsea was kind of almost like a gated community. They didn't have actual physical gates, but they had a financial gate because to live there you need to have money. You can't be poor, you can't be on welfare or public support or something like that, because then you will end up in another neighborhood. Which means they didn't have the same kind of problems that you will find in other areas in London. But I can tell you, walking around Hyde Park, I got a completely different vibe with all the women, not only in hijabs, but in the full, the full Islamic dress, whatever it's called. They have all these names, niqabs and all, and the whatnot. And that didn't feel nice at all. I mean, there is a level of conflict in the UK, and I also think there was some stuff that was under the surface. It wasn't public, but it was under the surface. But then you had the arrest of Tom Robinson recently, and I think that just exploded. So we'll see what happens. I hope Britain turns around. I don't know how that's going to happen peacefully. I don't know. I hope it will turn around. That's all I'm saying. And by the way, the British establishment should remember their history. Not only that the British establishment, or not only that Britain was founded more or less on Magna Carta and stuff like that, but that the British, they revolted before, they can revolt again, and they should remember that is a possibility. It's in the nature of the British people, if you can say that the people has a nature, but it's in their history. They have done it before, they can do it again. They should remember this, really. Psalm 122 6 SS just tuned in. Enjoy your visit. Thank you very much for tuning in. And well, thank you. Let's see. Jacob Jimenez says these sites should have crumbled a long time ago. However, it seems they're complying with the EU just to get so much money to keep their sites. Which sites are you talking about? Did I miss something here? Larry Sistan says one or two in Chelsea is too many. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to see hijabs, burqas, or niqabs at all in a Western country. Period. I mean, I want I want a Muslim ban in the way that I don't want Islamic immigration. Let's do that. Let's say you can't move to the West if you follow Muhammad. If you're a Mohammedan, I guess that would be really offensive to say, but why not? Jacob Jimenez says, I'm talking about Facebook and Twitter. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah. The only reason I'm staying in these places is because that's where most people are. And to reach crowds, you sort of have to be there. So what Free says Islam should be banned in Europe? Well, basically, yes. We can debate the fine tuning. You can't stop people from believing something in private, but basically, yes. So I've been here for an hour now on a hot New York day. I think it's hot. It felt hot when I took a short walk before I did this live stream, and I'll stay for a few more minutes. So if there's something you want to bring up, or if you want the last chance to send some support, or whatever you want to do, well, do it now. But remember, be nice. Don't incite. Psalm 122:6 says, "It seems the Islamic community in Britain has spent their time, quote unquote, wisely, putting uh, their supporters in key positions within British society. Is it true their new Home Secretary is Muslim? As far as I know, that's true. I mean, I've only heard it in different YouTube channels and stuff like that. I haven't checked it, but as far as I know, yes." Samuel McLean says, "I believe the UK is turning away from its craziness, or from this craziness. The powers that be are doing everything they can to stop this. Tommy Robinson is an example of this." Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for too. And I really hope you're right about that. And I think Britain can lead the way. If Britain turns around, they can lead the way. Because the way Britain goes, they will bring with them other Western European countries, people in other Western European countries, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in France, in Germany. They will look to Britain and say, look what they did. We can do the same. Jacob Jimenez says Islam needs to be banned here in America too. However, this would make the First Amendment come into conflict with this. Not too sure how to go about it. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I don't know exactly how to solve that. I'm all for free speech. At the same time, as I do, but I'm not. I'm in favor of free speech, but there is a limit, and the limit is incitement, which means, sure, you can be Muslim, but if you incite against non-Muslims, if you call for the killing of Christians and Jews and non-believers, or if you call for the killing of the wrong kind of Muslim, say Shia versus Sunni and so on, everyone versus Ahmadiyya, well, in that case, you could just close down the mosque for inciting. Of course, that means that the government or the police will have to watch all the mosques. So yeah, it's a complicated issue. I don't have a good answer to that one. Rooster Dad 50 just sent me a super chat of $5. Thank you very much. That's much appreciated. Uh, so thank you very much, and well, you come back to my next live stream, which will be in a week. Maybe I'll be able to have one on Thursday. We'll see. William Marshall says, "Enjoy your trip, and my regards to your good lady." Okay, I'll send my regards to her. So Watchfree says Germany and Australia offered political asylum to Tommy Robinson. Australia? I missed that, but that's great. I heard about the German, but wasn't that just a German parliamentarian, not the German government? However, I don't think I don't think Tommy Robinson will take their offer. Although I think he should. He really needs to do it. He should just be a dissident. I mean, not just, but sometimes the dissidents have to leave their countries and live in asylum somewhere else. That's what many Russian dissidents did during Soviet Russia. Some of them returned to Russia when the Soviet Union fell. Let's see. Khan David is writing here. He says, "Why didn't Norway join the European Union?" Norway had two referendums on joining the European Union, or the first time it was the European Economic Community back in 1973, I think, and the people voted no. Then they had another referendum in 1994, and they voted no again. And after that, they haven't voted on it. Instead, the politicians got Norway to join the back door by joining the European Economic Agreement, which basically means that almost everything the EU does, Norway has to comply anyway. So I think Norway should leave the European Economic Agreement. I don't think Britain should join it when and if they leave the EU. Switzerland did not join the European Union. They haven't joined the European Economic Agreement. Instead, Switzerland has a trade deal with the EU, and I think that's a lot better. I'm all for trade deals, but I don't like super states. Let's put it that way. Laris says, I don't think Tommy will take it either unless he has to. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think he's got it in him to leave the UK, which is kind of ironic because his background is Irish, but I guess he is assimilated to, well, to refer to something that's been debated a little in the chat today. He's assimilated into England, so he wants to stay in England and save England. And all honor, glory, and power to him for it. I respect that a lot, really. I respect him a lot for that. But I really think that people should listen more to him. The backyard vegan says London doesn't represent the UK people. I'm sure you're right about that. I mean, the establishment never represents the people. Well, that seems to be the general rule. Well, so it's time for me to wrap this up. I'm about to go for dinner in New York City. I hope you all have a great time this Saturday, and I hope you have a good weekend. Make sure to keep an eye on this channel for updates. Follow me on Twitter and Gab. There are links for that below too. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for the good discussions, for the support, for all. And until next time, have a nice day, and God bless.